Okay, so let's take a close look at number 5, console number 5. So yeah, just as we found in the intro, this one's got no signs of life at all. So let's pull it apart and see what's happening. Just the 4 screws on the back of these ones. Nothing hidden under there, just straightforward. So I'll just whip them out and come back in a sec. Okay, so I've pulled the screws out and flipped it back over. And let's try and lift the lid here. Okay. Alright, it's a little bit stuck. There it goes. So nice and clean actually underneath that lid, that's spotless. Alright, the console's pretty good actually. Yeah, it all looks very clean. So, okay, so when it's completely dead, I'm going to look at a couple of areas instantly. I'm going to look at the voltage regulator. Now on these Model 2s, they have a really cool little heatsink. It's quite good. So it could be the voltage regulator. I think that's a 7805, which we can replace nice and easily. It could be the power switch, or the circuit around the power switch, or it could be the reset switch. Sometimes these reset switches get held low, which sort of tells the machine constantly to reboot, so it's constantly off. Could be one of those. We'll quickly check them out and go from there. So I'll just pull this heat shield, the RF shield out, just the screws around the edge, and I'll be back in a sec. Okay, so with all those screws taken out, this RF shield will just lift off, nice and clean. Put that aside and then we can see what we're looking at. So power switch, reset switch, regulator. I guess the next step, we'll power it back up and we'll just measure some key voltages, probably down there on the regulator. I think you can see that. We'll try and get a multimeter down there and just measure the output on that. So if you look really closely, I don't know if you can see this on camera. The leftmost pin says I for input, which is 9 or 10 volts. The center is C for common, that's the ground point, and the right pin is O for output, which is 5 volts. And that's exactly what these regulators do. They take the voltage coming in from over here, the 9 to 10 volts DC direct current, and they regulate it to a steady and constant 5 volts. So on the output pin. So that's the first thing we're going to measure. So let me just get the multimeter and I'll be back in a second. Okay, so I've got the multimeter set up here. It's on DC, that's voltage DC, that's voltage AC. I might make another video explaining how multimeters work. It could be a nice interesting video. We're expecting 9 or 10 volts on the input and 5 volts there, so I've just put it on the 40 range. 4's too low, 40's just right, so let's turn this on. Ground should just be here, and we'll measure the input pin, and that's odd, 2.5 volts input. That's not right. Let's do it properly in here. I think the jack's the fault actually. Let me just oh, hang on, there we go, we got some, yeah, there you go. If I hold that in that position, what happens? If I just, yeah, so we got power there, so I've just touched that and that's the fault right there. If I quickly grab that gain and put that back in, turn it back on, and there you go. There you go. You can't see my screen, but it's all working. Right, so I'll put that camera back down. Let's power this guy off. Okay, so we know what the fault is. It's the DC jack. So just basic power, what we're sort of expecting. Right, so that's pretty easy. Let's pull the connectors out. Right, yeah, you can even see it. It's really loose. I should have thought of that. That's where the power starts. That's the start of the circuit. So it should really be the first place we check. There you go. All right, I'll have to pull the board completely out to get to the underneath of that. Then we just reflow the solder points and should be good to go. Right, so I'll whip out the screws. We've got one on either side of the cartridge slot. Okay, I'll just do that and come back. Okay, so I've just got my soldering iron warming up. ready to reflow these points. Just pull the cartridge slot screws out, and let's pull this board out. Okay, so that comes out pretty quick and easy. Let's put the base aside for a second. So where are we? We're over here. Let's turn that over, and there's our points. So if we look closely at that socket, and I'll just move it with my fingers. Yeah, you can see it's actually completely cracked. You can see the solder joint there is completely let go. So that's a really easy fix. Yeah, I forgot about that. I don't really touch the Mega Drive 2 very often, or the Genesis 2 in this case. But I think it is a common fault. For whatever reason, these things break, and maybe it's because it's a slightly unusual connector and people force it in or try to force in the wrong style. I don't know, but that's easy for us to fix. So let's put it there. I'll grab the iron. Okay, so I've got the soldering iron. I think it's warmed up enough. And let's have a quick go. So it's these 3 pins here. That's our input, common, output. So let's just start with this one. It's a bit easier. Yeah, okay, that's working. It's hot enough. It's always good to add a bit more solder to this sort of job. I wouldn't just reflow what's there. I'd definitely add some more. It's probably a little bit too much solder, but you know what? It doesn't really matter. These are huge points. I don't think we're really going to cause any problems there. Just let that heat penetrate, and there you go. And this last one. Okay, have a close look at that. Yeah, they're really close, but they're not touching. That's fine. So I'll quickly plug that in and give it a test. All right, so I've just got that plugged in. I've got a controller, got the original power, the composite output, and the cart we've been using. So let's give it a go. All right, we've got a power LED, and we have video. Just grab the camera, there you go. So that was it. That was an extremely quick and easy fix. Couldn't have been easier. So that's it. I'll basically wrap up the video. There's not much else to show you on this one. So the only other thing really to test is the reset circuit. Let's just push that. Yeah, okay, that's resetting. Always check that. It's a really quick and easy fix. Sometimes underneath this little rubber membrane, it just gets dirty or something goes wrong and it doesn't work properly, and it can stop the machine from booting. So just check that. And I'll just grab the controller, and let me just grab the camera. So up, down, left and right, so that's all working. Buttons are working, start's working, there's pause. Okay, so I do that just to check the just the controller port. I'll probably do the port too, just to be 100% sure. And this board's done. I may as well put it back in its case. Well, actually, I'll clean the case up first. I won't show you that. You've seen it before. I'll just wash the case, put a bit of conditioner on it, and that's ready to go. Okay, and that's all put back together. It's got a bit of plastic conditioner on it. Looks much better than it did to start with. Giving it power and cable again. And yeah, it's time to put this one up for sale. So I'll just give it a quick power on and test. And yep. All still working.